As the cold winter wind howled through the desolate forest near a town called Whispering Pines, a glowing figure emerged from the darkness. Its face seemed to transform into a twisted grin, revealing glowing eyes and razor-sharp metal like fangs that glinted in the moonlight. It was clad in an all-black cloak, making it blend seamlessly with the shadows. It had a unique ability to transform itself into trees and its limbs into sharp branches, making it nearly impossible to detect or escape from. The creature was known only by its terrifying moniker, the Devil's Harbinger. Legend had it that it was an ancient evil entity created by the devil himself thousands of years ago to strike fear and feast upon the unsuspecting. I know the Devil's Harbinger was not an urban legend, it was a real and deadly threat. This fateful day, as the creature stalked through the forest, it sensed the presence of potential prey. Its eyes scanned the area, picking up the faint sounds of rustling leaves and snapping twigs. With a sinister chuckle, it prepared to ambush its unsuspecting victims. The forest grew deathly quiet as the creature silently closed in on its targets, somewhat shape-shifting to avoid detection. Suddenly, a group of loggers stumbled upon the creature's lair. They were too late. They never stood a chance. One by one, they were hunted down and devoured by the monster. Their cries of terror were muffled by the thick foliage, as their bodies were brutally torn apart. The Devil's Harbinger feasted on their intestines, leaving behind a trail of empty human carcasses. This is just one story passed down over many years, and the graves of those who were mercilessly slaughtered there stand to this day as a haunting reminder of its existence. In the heart of the freezing Whispering Pines forest, I grew up in a small town shrouded in mystery. The Devil's Harbinger roamed our woods, placing constant fear in the hearts of the locals toward the end of every year when this malevolent entity hunted the forest for those daring enough to set foot in its territory. My childhood was haunted by the sinister tales surrounding the Devil's Harbinger. The first time I became aware of its existence was after a cold December, when two empty human carcasses were discovered just outside our town. The next morning, I vividly remember the feeling of being watched on my way to school with my little brother, and in my peripheral, saw something with glowing eyes in the dense forest. Without question, I know it was him. As the years passed, the terror intensified. Every October, November, and December, the entity would emerge, leaving behind nothing but empty shells of its victims. My beloved father was consumed to its insatiable hunger one fateful night, leaving my mother, brother, and I to mourn in the eerie silence that followed. As the cold winter months approached, the townspeople grew more and more paranoid, avoiding the forest at all costs. They knew that the creature only emerged during the last 3 months of every year, but they couldn't shake the feeling that it was always watching, waiting for its next unsuspecting victim. The forest had always been a source of wonder and solace for the townspeople, but now it was a place of fear and dread. They knew that they couldn't trust even the seemingly innocent trees around them, for they might just be harboring the Devil's Harbinger in their midst. Some more years later, fueled by revenge and a false sense of confidence, I, my brother, and 3 other town residents armed ourselves with shotguns and axes to venture into the heart of the forest, determined to end the Devil's Harbinger once and for all. Before it got dark, we maneuvered cautiously through the shadowed trees. My brother and I planned to lure the entity into an open clearing, while the others hid, ready to strike. As the hours passed, a horrifying scream shattered the stillness, followed by the sickening sounds of bones snapping and intestines being ripped apart. We saw movement in the bushes, the last cry for help, and then an eerie silence descended, accompanied by a fog of red blood in the air. Panic set in as we grabbed each other, ready to retreat. However, the Devil's Harbinger suddenly emerged from the shadows. Its form distorted as it revealed a jagged, metal-like jaw. A ghastly scene unfolded before us as it tore my brother apart, the shotgun blasts doing nothing to deter its bloodthirsty rampage. Frozen with terror, I watched as it then turned its attention to me, only to retreat into the darkness with supernatural speed, leaving me alone amidst the gruesome aftermath. Regret gnawed at my soul as I reflected on the horrors of that night. I felt guilt for the lives lost, and the images of that nightmarish scene haunted my every waking moment. I would have preferred to be the entity's next victim and endure the agony of witnessing the unsettling demise of my brother and those men. This is my farewell. Goodbye to a life marred by the malevolence of the devil's Harbinger. I cannot bear to live, knowing it still lurks in the shadows, hungering for its next victim. I can only assume it spared me due to it fulfilling its hunger that day. May my story serve as a warning to those who dare to challenge the darkness that dwells around the town called Whispering Pines.